Welcome to UK Voices 22. When Dame Helen Mirren, one of Britain's most respected actresses and a living symbol of dignity, took her seat beside Meghan Markle on live television, no one could have predicted the storm about to unfold. The cameras were rolling, the crowd was buzzing, and then, like a thunderclap, Helen delivered a moment so icy, so cutting, that the audience literally erupted. Meghan Markle, who has long positioned herself as a modern royal-turned-celebrity, was left stunned as the world witnessed a public snub that was impossible to ignore. This wasn't just a casual slip, or a harmless misunderstanding. This was deliberate. It was the kind of move that only someone of Helen's stature could make, and it carried a weight that seemed to echo every criticism ever leveled against Meghan. But what exactly did Helen do, and why did the crowd cheer? To understand the magnitude of this moment, you must first recognize how Meghan has cultivated her image since stepping away from royal life. To many, she is seen not as a victim, but as an opportunist, someone who traded tradition and loyalty for Hollywood lights and lucrative deals. For years, Meghan has presented her narrative as a struggle against an oppressive institution, but time and again, voices of authority, credibility, and even her own family have questioned the sincerity of her claims. So when Helen Mirren, the Queen of Regal roles, a woman who literally played Queen Elizabeth II on screen, leaned away from Meghan, delivered a sharp, dismissive line, and turned her charm entirely toward Graham Norton and the other guests, the symbolism could not have been clearer. The crowd roared not just at Helen's words, but at what they represented, a shared frustration with Meghan's carefully manufactured persona. But here's the question we must ask: was this just Helen being cheeky in true British style? Or was it a pointed, calculated rejection of Meghan's entire brand? And why did the audience's reaction feel less like shock and more like relief? The answer lies in the layers of Meghan's controversies, and how Helen's refusal to indulge her spotlight finally brought the simmering resentment into the open. The real genius of Helen's snub wasn't in the words she used, it was in the silence that followed them. Meghan, clearly rattled, attempted to laugh it off, flashing that practiced Hollywood smile. But the energy in the studio had shifted. Graham Norton, usually the master of smoothing over awkward moments, leaned into the tension, teasing the situation just enough to keep the audience roaring. And this is where curiosity deepens. Why would someone like Helen, who has spent decades navigating the delicate dance of diplomacy and wit in public, choose this exact moment to let her disdain show? To answer, let's pull back the curtain. Helen Mirren represents old world class and credibility. She has been knighted by the crown, celebrated by the public, and has an instinctive sense of timing. She knows exactly when a remark will land, and she knows the cultural weight of every gesture she makes. For her to snub Meghan on live TV wasn't just an offhand decision, it was a deliberate signal that Meghan's endless grievances and opportunism have worn thin, even among Britain's cultural elite. And the audience? They didn't just laugh, they erupted because Helen voiced, in action, what so many had been thinking. For years, Meghan has dominated headlines with accusations, victimhood narratives, and a steady drip of scandals that always circle back to the same theme: Meghan versus the world. Yet the world is beginning to push back. The louder she shouts about mistreatment, the more her credibility is questioned. Helen's public dismissal struck at the heart of this problem. It stripped away the carefully crafted narrative and replaced it with a raw, unscripted moment that exposed Meghan's vulnerability. But here's where the loop stays open: Meghan didn't back down. Despite being humiliated, she doubled down, attempting to charm the audience with quips and gestures, almost desperate to reclaim the spotlight. Yet each attempt only seemed to deepen the contrast: Helen, cool and commanding, versus Meghan, flustered and overcompensating. This imbalance became the show's real spectacle, and viewers at home couldn't look away. Still, one burning question lingered: was this the breaking point? Had Meghan finally been unmasked, live on television, in a way she could never spin or control. The middle of this story doesn't give us the full answer, but it sets up the ending with undeniable force. The climax came when the conversation turned toward the monarchy. Graham, ever the instigator, asked Helen about her thoughts on playing Queen Elizabeth, and what she had learned about the institution. With poised authority, Helen spoke passionately about duty, resilience, and the dignity of service. Then, without naming names, she delivered the line that sealed Meghan's humiliation. It's not about using the crown to elevate yourself. It's about lowering yourself in service to the crown. The crowd erupted again. Cameras cut to Meghan, whose smile froze into a mask of discomfort. In that single moment, Helen's words dismantled everything Meghan has been projecting for years. It wasn't just a snub, it was a public correction, a rebuke from a woman who embodies the very qualities Meghan has been accused of abandoning. And crucially, it was done not with shouting or scandal, but with elegance, class, and timing so perfect it could have been scripted, except it wasn't. This was the payoff promised in the title. Helen Mirren didn't just snub Meghan Markle, she exposed her. The eruption of the crowd wasn't mere entertainment, it was catharsis. For viewers who have grown tired of Meghan's relentless self-promotion and grievances, this moment was vindication. And for Meghan, it was an unavoidable reminder that no matter how far she runs from the monarchy, its shadow, and its champions, will always loom larger than her spotlight. In the end, Meghan left the show with the same Hollywood smile, but the damage was already done. Helen Mirren had taken just a few words and a single icy gesture to shatter the illusion Meghan had worked so hard to maintain. It wasn't just a live TV snub. It was a cultural turning point, a moment where Britain's beloved dame reminded the world that authenticity and service will always outshine self-interest and performance. And as the credits rolled, the audience knew they had witnessed something unforgettable. The night Helen Mirren publicly snubbed Meghan Markle, and the world cheered.